What are the things that you shouldn't do in Sweden? Today I'm going to tell you the answer from a Chinese man's perspective. Hello guys, welcome to another episode. China Uncle Mackie here. If you are asking the foreign expats here in Sweden what are the things that you shouldn't do in this country, probably you will get the answer about you shouldn't talk to the strangers while you are waiting for a bus, or you shouldn't stay at home when the summer is coming, or you shouldn't come into the country without learning a tip of the basic language for the basic conversation here. But today I'm going to discuss something else, which is about my perspectives about what are the things that you shouldn't do in Sweden. Let's go.
Birds flying high. Sun in the sky, sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Birds flying high. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. Birds flying high. Sun in the sky, sun in the sky, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life for me, yeah. It's a new dawn, for me.
So first, you shouldn't try to check in a hotel here in Sweden 24 hours in advance and try to pretend that you messed up the booking time. Second, you shouldn't try to set up your mattress here in the public area in the lobby of a hotel and try to sleep there overnight. 3, when the staff working in the hotel try to point out the uncivilized behavior that you behave, that you shouldn't quarrel with them and try to escalate it all the problem up to calling the police. And 4, when the police was involved and they try to bring you get out of the hotel, just go away decently, and you shouldn't sitting on the ground in front of the hotel and yelling and shouting in a public and saying it's a killing. 5, you should not fall onto the ground by yourself when there wasn't any physical engagement between you and the police. It looks stupid and it looks really embarrassing. So here I can provide a solution to those guys. If you get into the hotel one day in advance and it is impossible for you to check in that day, and try to avoid all this embarrassment and all this quarrel and fighting and dispute, you can just easily take out your phone and open up there's a app called booking.com and try to search if there's any hotel around that area that you can check in. I can guarantee you will get a whole bunch of hotels in that area that can resolve your problem. And in the end, just to say, sorry, I messed up the day, and try to get away from that embarrassing situation decently as a normal human being. Well, as you guys might still remember, the whole analogy that I brought up here today in this conversation, which is according to a Chinese tourist incident happened in Sweden a couple of years ago in Stockholm. And lately, the whole event escalated into a China-Sweden diplomat level dispute. As a Chinese citizen, today I'm not going to tell you about my opinions in a political level, because it is anyway still dangerous and troublesome if I brought up and speak it in public. But still, I can give you some of the opinions that I want to tell you from an individual perspective as an ordinary China man. first I have to admit the Chinese tourist family behaved really uncivilized and really embarrassing. They acted in a way it might seem to be okay in mainland China in the majority of the hotels when you try to check in quite a long time before the check-in time. But in China they might be spoiled, because in China it's always the customer the first, so it doesn't matter what kind of ridiculous things that you do in a public area, and in the majority of the situation, if you don't do it overly, or you don't harmful to the harmony of the society, or you don't bring a lot of public attention, in the majority of the case, the Chinese hotels will tolerate such kind of behavior. I think that is why the way that they acted in the hotel in Sweden is seems not okay in this country, but you have to understand the biggest difference of the cultural background between two countries. I'm not here to legitimize their actions and legitimize the whole stuff that they escalated into, like involving police so and so. But here I'm just giving you a perspective and a cultural background explanation, and why such kind of things happened. Maybe not once, maybe you will see it in later, but try to understand. Majority of those people, they have never get out of the country. They sometimes behaved as cultural revolution way, whatever it is. Anyway, so that's one of my opinions. Secondly, the main argument before it was focusing on if it is a racism action towards the Asian people. Well, I have to say, if the tourist family creates such kind of chaotic and dispute and quarrel in a public area, and they refuse to follow the rules that the hotel set up, and try to refuse act as a civilized human being, and doing all these childish chaotic things in the public area, I think they deserve to be requested to get out of the public area into an area that they will no longer creating such kind of chaos and so and so. So if it's a racism issue, well, I don't think it is a racism issue. It's not targeting a certain group of people or certain race in this case. It is all based on their uncivilized behavior, but actually in that situation they were just requested to leave the hotel, and the police dropped them into a cemetery, which according to the Chinese culture, a cemetery area or a tomb, which is quite negative, but that's another culture thing. We can discuss that later on in another video. So this is my second opinion. Well, in the end, I would like to say it's not every ordinary Chinese would like to defend such kind of uncivilized behavior. It looks ugly, it looks embarrassing, even though after several years later it still looks really bad from different angles. Nowadays, I think people are trying to use the misconceptions or the big concepts such as racism to silence people from criticize the uncivilized behavior. It is all aimed to get away from the problem without taking any responsibility. This is unacceptable. Thanks for watching. China Uncle Mikey. See you in next video.